Hi, this is what we call a Chucopedia webinar, although it's not really a webinar because it's going to be for everybody to look at on YouTube. And what we're doing here is teaching the citizens of El Paso and anyone who's interested in El Paso in how to find out information from your public entities by using the Open Records Act or using the Texas Public Information Act. Before we start, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Debbie Nathan, and I'm a co-administrator of Chucopedia, which is an online news aggregation, commentary, and original reporting site based out of El Paso, Juarez, and southern New Mexico. And we recently did a Kickstarter project to fund an investigative reporter, and we have our first reporter tonight. I'll introduce her in a minute. But before we do any introductions, I want to just thank all the people who contributed to the Kickstarter project, because we promised you that if you contributed, we would do a training on open records requests. So you are our prize winners, but you're not our only prize winners, because this really is for the public. Of course, anyone can go on YouTube, and we hope that everyone who wants to learn about open records will take advantage of this training that we're doing. So let me introduce everyone. This is David Crowder, who is a longtime El Paso journalist, possibly the longest time El Paso journalist. Is that right?
Could be.
Yeah.
I think
he's probably been doing open records for 40 years. So he knows how to do open records requests. He's our expert. David has worked at many newspapers in El Paso, some of them mainstream, some of them
Dry Street.
alternatively passionately independent, and is currently working for El Paso Inc. And David probably knows more about how to wrench information using the Public Records Act than anyone else in the city. Our cameraman tonight is Mike Scanlon, who is co-administrator and also a very long-time reporter in this area, New Mexico and El Paso. And our first investigative reporter for the Kickstarter project is Maria Esquinca, who is over here. And Maria has done her first open records requests during the summer as our investigative reporter. She's here to tell you that you shouldn't be afraid to do it. You shouldn't be nervous. It's very possible. And so with probably a combined total of 47.2 years of open records request experience, we are here to tell you how to do it.
I thought you and I combined would probably make at least 70.
I think it's probably, I think it's 42.1.
Well, oh, I see. Yes, this is your joke. Right. Okay.
I don't have that much experience, not compared to you. Okay. So David is going to tell us he's going to give us some background on what the Texas Public Information Act is.
Started off as the Texas Open Records Act, 1973. It was a reformed Texas legislature that passed it, along with the Texas Open Meetings Act. It might have been the 2 years before, I'm not sure. There was two great pieces of reform legislation that have really served journalism wonderfully in the state of Texas by providing reporters and citizens with a great vehicle for being able to obtain the kinds of documents that governments were very good at holding back before and simply saying that you could not get these documents. And now the truth of the matter is that everything is open records, subject to open records requests, except for personnel records and things like that.
Tell us some agencies. Give us some examples of agencies.
All the different government agencies that you could think of are subject to this law, from the the El Paso County, the city of El Paso, the 9 school districts of El Paso, the county hospital district, the El Paso appraisal district, is as well, and all of these other 36, 37 different local governments that we have in El Paso County are all subject to this. And if you submit a request, and it doesn't have to be official or anything like that, doesn't have to have any official words and citing laws or anything like that, simply submit a request for information, it automatically comes under the Texas Public Information Act, and they have to treat it very formally.
But we're going to concentrate tonight on teaching you how to make an open records request from the city of El Paso.
Well, I can jump in and say that the city of El Paso has adopted a portal system for filing open records requests.
So we're going to show you right now how easy it is to go on to the El Paso City website and open up an account. to do open records requests. So here we have my Mac computer, and as you can see, you just type in www.elpasotexas.gov. El Paso, Texas is one word. And this is the screen that you get. And if you go down the left side of the page, 3 or 4 things down.
3 boxes, yes.
There you see Open Records, Submit a Request. Just going to click on that. And now you're on the Open Records Center, and you're going to open up an account. But here's where you're going to create your own account. This little box that lights up here, click on it, okay? And all you're going to do is just fill out these forms. It's very easy. You can see you've got your email address, you do your password, you do your password again. If you want to call yourself the king or the queen or Mr. or Mrs., whatever your title is, it's just super easy. All right, so you fill all that out. Address. Very easy, completely self-explanatory. And you press submit. As I said, everyone sitting around this table right now already has his or her account.
So here you go, that instead of having to fill out a letterhead the way you used to have to do, knowing who exactly to mail it to or to send it to, they have really, really made it easy here. You don't have to do any kind of, can I use this key right here?
Tell you what,
to just start typing here?
You tell me what you want and I'll type it for you, because
Okay.
I'm a Mac girl.
You're a Mac girl, okay.
Yeah.
And so I was just going to, and so you just simply fill out and tell them what you want there, the records that you're looking for. As it happens, I was sort of interested in some of the things that were going on at the animal shelter recently. I just decided to go ahead and submit a request here to see if we could get some of the records that might reveal what's going on with animal control and whether they're having a real problem with people adopting animals that they later bring back and they have parvo or something like that, and they're dying, and maybe they die, at the animal control at the shelter. So my pre-prepared request reads, it describes what records you are looking for, and mine just says Animal Control Division records of the number of adopted animals returned to the shelter because of illness during the months of May, June, and July 2016, comma, the diagnosis or reason for their infirmity.
Infirmity.
And the number of them that died as a result. Period. Also, the number of animals that were euthanized during those same months, May, June, July of this year and last year. So we have something to compare it to. So that's all I have in my request. And so now you go down and it used to be back in the dirty old days that you used to have to get these documents on paper, which could be very expensive. Nowadays, if you have a computer, you don't have to do that. You just click getting these documents, these records electronically. They will send it to you by email. So you just click on the electronic via information center. You can pick up your copies. If you don't do that, they will send it to you by certified mail after you pay. And I'm not sure,
I just want
or
to point
regular
out,
mail.
I want to point out that you don't need to cite any kind of law,
Right.
any kind of statutes. The hardest thing about this request is knowing how to spell euthanize, which is
And division.
Yeah, sorry about that, but I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to leave it misspelled because the city's actually very generous.
Right, they're going to figure
As
this
long
out.
as it makes any sense, they'll figure
Right.
it out. Okay.
Actually, if the documents you're seeking don't involve a lot of administrative work and a lot of people to hunt it down, these records requests can be very inexpensive, even if you're getting documents, because they charge you, I think, 10 cents a page, something like that. So now it says, please select from this optional menu. It's just a drop-down menu. You click on that, and it will give you all these different departments. And you're supposed to select the department that is involved in your particular request, okay? And a lot of people, you may not know for sure. If you don't know, you can click city attorney. You can just click on the city attorneys, because that's where this goes anyway. In this particular one, I'm looking for environmental services. Did you see that there?
There was animal services.
Yes.
If there was, then I didn't see an animal something.
I thought that's
But environmental services would.
Well, there's animal
Animal
services.
services, there you go. There
That's
we
a
go.
better one.
That's a fine one, right.
Let's do that one.
So you click that, and that's where they will send these records. And so when they get them, they will tell, whoever it is, that they have just a few days to go and collect the documents that you're looking for.
So the city has 10 working days to get you your request to fulfill it. It's a little more complicated than that in El Paso. We have in El Paso the El Paso Work Week, which is actually for the city only 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because nobody works on Friday. So let's say you make a request on Monday. Now, we also have what I call the lagniappe all over Texas with TPIA, and that is that the first day doesn't count. So let's say that you make the request on Monday, you don't count Monday. Then you've got Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, that's 3 days. You skip Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then you've got the next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You skip the weekend, that long weekend. Now you're in the third week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You've actually got 17 days out since you've made your request. So that, that's kind of a long time. It's actually only a couple days longer than if El Paso worked 5 days a week. Some people just forget about their request, and before you know it, you've got it. But it does take 17 days in El Paso.
That is, I should add here really quickly, if you're dealing with any other local government, it will take you not those 17 days, but 15 days, more than likely, because they all work on Friday. It's always a good idea when you want to submit a records request to find out, is to have a conversation with the agency that you want to talk to. I'm not sure, as press, we have entree to some of these offices. As the general public, I'm not sure. But basically, it's a matter of trying to reach somebody at a particular department where the records might be located, and just talk to them about what kind of records they have and how they have them. You don't want to, you want to narrow your request as much as you can, so that they don't give you a whole bunch of things. And if you do this in the beginning, and just explaining to people precisely the records you're looking for, you don't have to tell them why you want it, and don't tell them why you want it. You can shorten the time period that's involved in getting your records, because if your request is too broad, the city is going to come back to you, and they're going to ask you for clarifications.
I want to give you an example of going through that process. I was interested in some of the disciplinary history of the El Paso Chief of Police. So my original request to the city attorney's office and to the El Paso Police Department was for the entire disciplinary record of Police Chief Greg Allen. Now, a very helpful person in the city attorney's office, and I hope that she would have done this even if I was not a journalist. I think she would have. I think I think every citizen who makes one of these actually does deserve to get a clarification from whoever is in charge of the department that you're querying. So this very helpful person called me and said, I don't know whether you want the entire disciplinary record. It's going to be thousands and thousands of pages, and let me just say that that's not specific to the chief, that every disciplinary incident for any police officer involves many hundreds of pages. That's just the way the bureaucracy works. So she very helpfully said, since you really don't know what you want out of that disciplinary record, why don't you start with what's called the discipline card? And I didn't know what that was, and I said, well, what is that? And she explained it to me. She said, there's a card in the file, and whatever the police officer or the police person is actually disciplined, where there's an agreement that they need to be disciplined, that's going to be listed on this little card. And it's very brief, and it'll give you a roadmap, probably, into what you think you want. And it was incredibly helpful, and so I did request that card, and I think it only took like a day to get it. And this is actually the card. So you can see that there are, these abbreviated descriptions of what each disciplinary incident is about. And I looked at it and I found a couple that seemed really interesting to me. I really didn't know what they were about, but they seemed more interesting than the other ones. So I ordered those, and one of them was, probably, I don't know, 80 pages. And the other one was 600 pages, which seems kind of voluminous, but it was a lot better than asking for 15,000 or 20,000 pages. So I was very grateful, actually, to this person for giving me that assistance. Other times, I'm not sure if the people will be so helpful. And so what you really have to do, as we've said, is think about these requests as kind of like Google search words. Try to get as specific as possible in your request. Use the most specific words you can. Use dates. As David did with the animal control, he narrowed it down to certain months. And just be as sharply specific as you can. And that will speed it up and make it cheaper.
They will also ask you, depending on the kinds of records you're looking for the names of the people whose records you want specifically. If you're talking emails, for instance, they'll want to know if you're looking for emails that who received them. If you're talking about a member of city council, do you want everybody on city council, or do you just want one person? And then from what kind of subjects that you're covering or with your request, and they might even ask you, which people do you want to basically obtain their email for, in terms of who that city council member may be corresponding with, or just leave it open and say everything that has anything to do with animal control or the police chief or something like that. But they will ask you identities of the people who are involved in your request. We're going to talk about waivers. The Texas Public Information Act has a provision that says that your fees for your request can be waived if your request and the information you're requesting is in the public interest. Somebody's going to have to make that kind of determination, and you may have to argue for it. As a journalist, actually, I have never claimed that, even though in dealing with other governments I have. I was honestly not aware of the fact that this was even in the law. And Debbie pointed it out to me.
Let me interrupt you
Yeah.
quickly. So we are journalists, but we want you to understand that you, as a citizen, if you're trying to get some information that is in the public interest, and actually we would hope that you would bring it to a place like Chucopedia if it is in the public interest, so that the public can see it. But you don't have to be a journalist to be doing some public, you don't have to be a journalist to do open records requests in the public interest. So just keep that in mind. You have the right to ask for a waiver of the cost for the labor for looking things up and the cost of copying. Now, that's not necessarily to say that you'll get that waiver, but you should make that request.
I should go on and say that I did call up the El Paso City Attorney's Office today just to ask them about that provision and whether they actually grant those requests. And the woman I spoke to said, who's in charge of this particular Office of Public Records, said she had no idea. And so I'm under the impression that while that provision is part of the law, that they have never used it, and they may decide not to, because I think there is some discretion in there in terms of what they think is public interest. But you can always argue that it is, and a lot of people will argue this is public interest and I shouldn't have to pay $300 for this information. But they will argue against it because it's their city budget.
Maybe, I don't know whether this sounds a little bit abstract, but we wanted to tell you about some of the really awesome open records materials that we've gotten just by making these requests. And again, it's not just the city. I mean, you can make an open records request to any public institution anywhere in Texas. So some of the really good ones that I've gotten, I did an article for The Nation magazine about the life and death of Sandra Bland, and I was very, very concerned to look at some of the evidence to support or to not support the claim that Waller County, Texas was making that she committed suicide. And the family was saying that that was not so, and they're arguing that she was murdered. I felt that it was very important to look at her autopsy photographs, and I requested her autopsy photographs and got 85 of them. They were a very, very valuable tool for my reporting, and I was just very happy that I was able to use the open records request to get them. You have, another one, actually this is one that David and I can both talk about. There was, I don't know, if people will remember this, it's from last year. There was an artist in El Paso who was commissioned to do a public art sculpture. She put it up on a roundabout on the Upper West Side, and it was almost immediately taken down with no good explanation. It was sort of all a huge mystery about why this thing was taken down. And again, I remember really thinking about the precise words that I wanted to use to get some city records to just find out what happened. And I remember trying to specify the dates, to do the most narrow range of dates that I could. And lo and behold, I did get, within the 20 whatever it is days, I did get an enormous amount of material, emails, photographs. I got a lot of stuff, and the long and short of what I got showed that the city manager had peremptorily decided within a period of about 45 minutes with no discussion to have this sculpture removed. I won't get into the reasons, that gets a little complicated, but the mystery was solved. And David, you want to pick up on that? And this was very much in the public interest.
What she did, what Debbie did, was post it on Chucopedia. And I was able to go there and actually pick up this information, much as you would have done with Wikipedia or something like that, pull down this information that she had and write a series of stories about it that really highlighted, in this particular instance, what had gone on with that piece of art, really pointing to the short span of time that the city manager had used to actually make his decision on a Friday when City Hall was closed to remove a valuable piece of sculpture from the roundabout on Country Club Road.
And you
The
wanted-
reporting, really opened the doors up with this reporting in terms of people's understanding of what happened in that case.
So, I don't know whether this sounds complicated. We hope that it doesn't. It's actually not that complicated. And I think our best example of how easy it is our investigative reporter, Maria Skinka, who we've been assisting this summer and helping to train in using these kinds of methods. And this summer is the first time that Maria has done open records, and so we wanted to get a few words from her about what that experience has been like.
Well, yes, at first I was probably definitely a bit intimidated just because I had never done an open records request and I wasn't very familiar with the process, but thankfully Debbie kind of guided me. And so I would say that once I knew what I was requesting and once I knew the wording, which I was, told needs to be specific. Well, once I knew the open record that I was requesting, then I guess the big thing after that was I didn't know that some records pertain to county and some to the city. So I guess that's another thing that you need to know if it corresponds to the county or the city. And then after that, the other big thing is just knowing what department, but because there's the drop-down menu, you can kind of figure that out. And like David said, if you don't, then you could always send it to the city attorney's office. But yeah, it's a very simple process once you kind of know what to do, and it's pretty fast, and it's just a matter of sending it. And I guess like for me, I had people helping me along the way, but I feel like this video is pretty helpful if you don't have necessarily someone there to help you.
And did you get what you were looking for?
Yeah, I got what I was looking for.
Right. She mentioned the issue of city-county governments and such, and it's always important to know that sort of the origin of the document that you're looking for. El Paso County operates much the same. You can submit your request there to the El Paso County Attorney's Office. Generally in writing, they don't have the little portal that's so friendly as the cities, but nonetheless, it's simply a matter of sending an email or a letter with a stamp on it, to their office and make the request, and they will work with you much the same as the city does.
So it really is pretty easy. Now, there are some glitches. We don't want you to be discouraged, but we want to just warn you in advance of some of the city's most common tricks to delay and maybe avoid giving you information. And it's a challenge. I find it very exciting to, let's just say, work with the city to get the information that I want, despite perhaps the city's, what's the word?
I'm not sure what the word is.
Intransigent?
Yes.
Confusion?
It can be difficult to get the information that you're looking for sometimes. And what can happen to you a lot if you submit a lot of requests is that they will make a determination that for one reason or another, the information that you're looking for is not subject to the Public Information Act. And if they make that determination, they have 10 days to either, under the law, they have 10 days to give you the document that you're looking for, ask for a clarification so that you can refine your request, or they have to basically send a letter to the Texas Attorney General requesting a kind of a ruling from them as to whether they agree with the city attorney's office that the records that you're seeking are not subject to the Public Information Act. At this point, once they've sent that, they will notify you about it. They will send you a letter that looks like this. This is a copy of, can I put it up a little closer? This is what they will send you, just notifying you that, that you have been sent to the Attorney General at this point. After that, the time period for getting the records that you want is now extended out probably 90 days or so. But oftentimes, the Attorney General is generally pretty good about making hard decisions, and they can come back and tell the city that these records are open, and that they have to provide them to you. At the same time, the city is pretty good about knowing which records really are open, and they don't send you much of the time to the Attorney General on this if they think they're going to lose. And frankly, I have beaten them a few times on these kinds of requests where they make their case to the AG, but they win most of them. The one thing you need to know is that you will receive a letter from the city, and I believe maybe from the Attorney General's office, and you will get a case number along with that letter, and you are allowed yourself to. The city will not show you their letter about why they are arguing that the records you are seeking are not subject to the Public Information Act. It might be because it involves personnel. It might be because of an investigation going on. Generally, those are two big areas. But you can answer yourself to the Attorney General and argue your case as to why you think this information is public and is important enough that they need to be required to release it.
Sometimes you're making a request and the city sends a letter to the Attorney General's office, and it's really, the information they're contesting is really not what you're that interested in. I mean, you're asking for example, the disciplinary record of a police officer. You don't care where that police officer lives or what that police officer's birthday is or their social security number, but the city will send a letter to the AG saying, do we have a right to withhold the social security number, the address, and so on and so forth, and you don't care about that. So you're like, oh, no, now I've got to wait for this ruling. But then the ruling comes back and the AG agrees with the city that for privacy reasons, the city gets to redact all of that information. You're like, fine, just do the redaction. I don't care about that anyway. So not all of the arguments that the city's making to the AG that are proper arguments really are that concerning to you in the first place. So even if you lose, you may not be losing what you want.
Right.
And you'll get that.
And you can specify, you can do a clarification at that point if you're talking with them, and they basically just advise you that they're going to send this to the Attorney General and say that, well, if you're talking about social security numbers and addresses and phone numbers, you can give your permission in advance for them to redact or withhold that information, and you might be able to avoid that trip to the Attorney General.
And that would necessitate that you actually sat down and read the Texas Public Information Act so that you knew that, which I don't. I just don't read the TPIA, and maybe I should, and then I have to wait longer. But don't worry about it. They'll take care of it for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those kind of exemptions are intended to actually protect privacy in many cases.
So
Yeah.
how about these charges and how to get around them?
First off, they may offer you a whole bunch of documents. I've actually been put into a room. They said you can come down and look at the documents. Do you want copies or do you want to look at them? And if it's a large batch of documents, it's going to cost me over $100 to go get. I'd say I'd like to come down and get them. They will and look at them. They will put you down at a desk, in a room where you can go through these documents. Decide which ones you may want to make a copy of. They'll give you a little thing of paper clips and you can clip the documents that you want. And so instead of taking 600 pages, you can walk out with 6 and pay 60 cents or something like that. That's what's easy. Another thing that you can do is that I have actually done before. Sometimes you get away with it, sometimes you don't. But a lot of times they will show you documents on a computer. They will put you in a room with a little laptop that's got all of these documents in there. And you can literally sit there with your cell phone and actually take pictures of those documents as you scroll them up. Some people will object to that in the city attorney's office or over at the county. Some people will not. And you can literally walk out and say, I've got everything I needed. You might have only been looking for a handful of documents. And I've got basically the copies of the documents that I want, and you're done. And you can walk out without paying a bill.
So we hope that we've given you some information that will help you get the material and the information that you need from the city and from any other public entity in Texas, and particularly from our community. And we hope that when you do get public interest information, that you'll share that information with Chucopedia. And you can do that by joining Chucopedia on Facebook, CHUCOPEDIA. And you can always back message the co-administrators or send a public message that you've got some material that you want to put up. We will contact you. We have ways that you can put voluminous amounts of material up. And so we'd love to have it. We're also starting a website for Chucopedia so that everyone in the world, even people who are not on Facebook, can access Chucopedia. And you can go to either of two places, www.chucopedia.com or www.chucopedia.org. They'll both take you to the same place. We really hope that you'll visit that site, because Maria Esquinca's investigative reporting will soon be up on, and it's going to be very, very hard-hitting, wonderful material. And we hope that you'll contribute. Thank you so much if you've contributed already, in spirit, in material on Facebook, or in money to the Kickstarter project. We really appreciate your support of Chucopedia, and we hope to hear from you.